Brad, Frank, it's Paul Wolf. For those of you who know who I am, I was on the Schmoedown Rundown for a good period of time, and I just saw your recent video, and again, great interview with Bibiani, but at the very beginning, I saw something that I'm not a big fan of. So, what do you guys think to upping the ante a little bit?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, Frankie Janisch, and the host of the Schmoedown Rundown, Bryan.
What's up, Movie Trivia Schmoedown fans? Welcome to the Schmoedown Rundown, the official after show for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. I am your host, Brad Gilmore, and I'm joined by the man who's a world traveler as of late, Mr. Frank Janisch. Frank, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, but let me tell you, Brad, tensions are high this week. It was title week, and holy crap, a mess of stuff went down this week.
Yeah, we're going to get into it. I want to address Mr. Paul Wolf, by the way. You came out of nowhere, but guess what? Frank Janisch, Jenga Janisch, it looks like your tower will stand at least a few more weeks. I accept Paul Wolf's challenge, and let's make it a triple threat. Frank Janisch, Brad Gilmore, Paul Wolf, first ever Rundown Schmoedown, the inaugural champion will be crowned. It'll be one of the three of us.
Yeah, I mean, kicking two asses is better than one, so I'm all for it.
Oh, okay, Jenga Janisch. We'll see. We'll see. You know, I know you're the stat man, right? Yeah. And I'm going to give you a stat real quick. Zero. Zero's the stat.
Oh, good.
There's a 0% chance.
I didn't know you could count that high. Wow.
There's a 0% chance of snowfall in Houston in the middle of the March, and there's a 0% chance Frank Janisch and or Paul Wolf will walk out with that inaugural Schmoedown Rundown championship in the first ever Rundown Schmoedown. But that's neither here nor there, because that's later. Let's talk about the here and now. We're in the present. We're not in the future yet. Championship week went down. We had two big title fights that we're going to get to. Let's remind the folks, though, that next week, we're just a week away. Next week, it will be the live Schmoedown, Movie Trivia Schmoedown in Los Angeles, California. Frank, you will be there, correct?
I will be there because you can't. So I got to do it. I got to pick up the slack. So, yeah.
All right, Frank. And it sounds like, if you watch Movie Talk this week, it sounds like Michael Rappaport might be in the building as well, which I would love. I'm a big fan of Michael Rappaport. We had him on the Heated Conversations podcast with Booker T and I a couple weeks ago. Super great guy. So that would be great if he's there. If he's there, Frank, tell him I said hello. He won't know who you are, but he will know who I am. Let's get into the
excellent.
Let's get into the matches this week. Let's just start off hot, Frank. There's no need to drag this out at all. We had two pretty massive matches, maybe two of the biggest matches in Movie Trivia Schmoedown history. Two titles on the line. Sam Levine with his first title defense, and then we'd see the Patriots later on defend against top 10 to see if anyone will ever beat them. Let's go first things first. Let's go to the title match. We saw Sam Levine, the inglorious one, going against the crusher, Rachel Cushing. Rachel Cushing, this seemed like this was going to be her moment, her crowning moment here in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. We'll talk about how all that went down, but let's first say, Frank, what was your excitement level for this match?
I was very excited to see high-quality trivia on display. Sam, he's a student of the game. We're going to get into this a little bit later as well regarding the speed round, but you know the trivia and you know how to play the game. Sam knows how to play the game. He knows the trivia. Rachel, she's been built up since last season. She's been honing her skills. We all know the trivia is there. She's playing the game very well. She's coming off a flawless number one contender match. So my excitement was through the roof here because these are two of the most talented individuals in the league. And when you have them in the same match, we saw back in the Ultimate Schmoedown tournament, these two go head-to-head. To have a rematch here for the title, that speaks volumes just how good they are. Rachel clawed her way back up through that number one contenders match with practically ease, let's put it that way. And she answers at a high percentage. Sam answers at a high percentage as well. So we were going to get fireworks, and that's all I could ask for from this match, and they delivered.
They definitely delivered. This was a fun match. I definitely enjoyed it. Let's just get into it, Frank Janisch. I was excited. I was amped for it, and let's talk about it. We're going to talk about match number 1 in championship week for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown Singles Division Championship. The champion, Sam Levine, defends against the challenger, Rachel Cushing. Sam Levine, here's a stat provided by the stat man. Sam Levine's lifetime average in correct questions or questions answered correctly is 69.59%. So nearly 70% of the questions asked he answered correctly. Rachel Cushing blows him out of the water. Almost 81% of questions that Rachel Cushing has been asked, she's answered correctly. That is a massive, massive difference, in my opinion. 11% difference between the two of them, Frank. I mean, I got to think, even though Sam was the player of the year, singles player of the year, overall player of the year, we know how great he was in the Ultimate Schmoedown Championship, or Ultimate Schmoedown Tournament and the team tournament. But I feel like most people looked at Rachel Cushing as the favorite going into this fight. This was like the Francis Ngannou-Stipe Miocic fight just a couple months ago. Stipe's the champ, but people looked at Francis as the favorite, and I think this was a similar situation. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, let's go back to that lifetime average stat that you pulled. Rachel, nearly 81%, and compared to Sam's nearly 70%, and you ask yourself, how is someone with nearly 11% less than their opponent, how are they in the title match? How are they the champion? Because they know how to play the game, and they know when to take the swings, and they need to swing for the fences. And so these just two are magnificent. I just can't say any more good things about both these players. And these are two really good, well-liked people in the league. Just huge implications here because we're looking for Rachel to be the first female champion in any of the divisions. So, let's get going, man.
Let's get going. Round number 1 ends with them both tied 6-6, both getting obviously 6 points in round number 1, answering 75% of the questions correctly. We saw stuff like fantasy, sci-fi as a category, comedy, drama, horror, thriller, action, adventure, crime, animated, and directors. Couple of the questions, tripped up Rachel Cushing in the early going. I'd say that Hail Caesar question, the Coen Brothers movie. She knew it was a Coen Brothers movie. She could see it in her head, but she did not know the title. And then there was just a couple other ones where she just couldn't pull the answer. And but Misery. Misery was the other one. That's right. But they come up tied. They come up tied after round number 1. They kept it close and entertaining. Not a whole lot to say here. They brought the level that we expected them to bring in a round number 1. I mean, they came. So both players just scoring a lot of points, Frank. I mean, I don't think either one of us are really super shocked by that. Neither are any of the Schmoevillians out there who are watching. They came through and they dominated in that first round.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of there's some back and forth there in the first round. Rachel knew a question, Sam didn't. Sam knew the question, Rachel didn't. But in the end, they came out 6-6. So nothing surprising there. I think even Rachel, though, had a better shot at going perfect. We talked about the Hail Caesar and the Misery question misses. I think she knew those. And that Frank question, that movie with Domhnall Gleeson, Sam legitimately did not know that. So or the Michael Giacchino one. So little gaps there that Rachel, had she been able to pull Hail Caesar and Misery, that could have made a difference throughout the rest of the match. But it is what it is. Six apiece. Nothing short of what I thought we would get.
No, definitely. I mean, these guys, they came through and they did, like I said, what we expected them to do, Mr. Janisch. We go into round number 2, the wheel round. Sam I Am Levine, the champion, defers to Rachel Cushing. Rachel Cushing up first, gets that fantasy and sci-fi. What was going on in your mind when you saw this, Frank?
I thought this is a perfect category for Rachel, and she should do very well. I wouldn't expect her to give up any points, any opportunities to Sam, and that's what we got here. In fact, I mean, she went perfect. She got all 8 possible points. Very impressive in a title setting, and I was like, Rachel is here for real. She is here to get this today, and so it was a great showing because you can feel a little pressure, I think, when you're deferred to, you're the first to go. You don't know what your opponent's going to do because now you're first, so you can't strategize as much as you can when you're playing from behind or going second in the second round. So for her to just sweep the board and put really the pressure on Sam, I thought was a great sign from Rachel.
No, I agree, and I think that she definitely put him in a corner. You know, she boxed him in a little bit there, and he had to come through and deliver. So, when he was going up to spin for round number 2, he needed something that was going to be a strong suit of his so that he could keep this thing close going into round number 3. And, well, it looked like the fate was upon him on this one because it looked like he was meant to spin Scorsese. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, he went away from Scorsese and a good thing he didn't, right? A good thing he spun it the second time because you're right. He was I think you're right about he felt maybe a little bit in a corner, and that's why he did respin on Scorsese. So for him though to go perfect as well and respond just as well as Rachel put up in her turn, I thought this was gonna for sure go down to the wire, if not even overtime.
Yeah, this had all the makings of one of those, like, oh, man, we are in for a long night, Frank Janisch. and yeah, like you said, he goes away from Scorsese because I think at that moment he was probably kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say that he was second-guessing himself, but he was probably doing one of those things like, when a competitor lands on Tarantino or Spielberg, it's like, okay, yeah, I know most of his stuff. I mean, what could they ask? I don't know. They could ask some deep cuts. Maybe I should spin again. Let me just be safe. And I think that was what was going on in his mind. He said, let me just make sure I can get, because there's some other categories on the board I know I could probably run away with, and let me see if I can get them.
Yeah.
But he got that Scorsese again. And don't we see this a lot? Don't people spin the same category again? Like most of the, more than they spin a different category?
It's a good thing you bring that up because after we recorded that one episode and I gave that stat, I misheard. Was it also Patrick on that show?
Perhaps.
I misread, so I gave you the wrong stat.
Okay.
So
what a great stat man you are.
Correction out there. So, well, hey, there's a lot of numbers swirling around on this side, okay? But it's not nowhere near like that. I think I gave like 70% numbers or something like that, something crazy. And you guys were all shocked. And I was like, really? I can't understand why you're shocked until I listen on the replay. But that's neither here nor there. So spinning twice, though, is a pretty rare. Spinning the same category twice is pretty rare. I don't have the number in front of me, but it's, it's as you had assumed in the first place, guys. That's on. Yeah. So
thanks for your massive correction there.
A month later, but hey.
I really appreciate the clarification. You wait a month to correct the stat, and then you just say, it doesn't really happen that often. Like no numbers, no ratio, no decimal, no fraction. You just said it doesn't really happen that often.
Yeah.
But, you're second to none.
You're welcome.
Second to none. So I don't even remember where I was. Oh, yeah, Scorsese. So he spins it again. It was just preordained. It had to happen. Let's get into round number 3. Round number 3 is a betting round. And we're definitely going to have to talk about this when it comes to for the team championship match extensively for quite a while. Probably the majority of this show will be spent on that. But the wager round, the betting round, I don't know. It's kind of one of those strange ones because I feel in a normal match we talk about round 2 a lot. And we talk about how that's a defining round for most of the match. This betting round, what is your analysis here? Do you think that it's a pivotal round? Out of the 5-rounder, do you say this is the round that's going to sway it one way or another? Or what is your real analysis of it?
It's a little complicated when it comes to this third round, I think. When you look at a second round in a championship match, the importance is it's a little less than a 3-round match, right? I think that's fair to say across the board, generally speaking, because you still have time to make up ground. You have 2 more rounds before you get to that final round to make up some ground. When you get to this betting round, I think it really shows what kind of player you are. Sam bets 3. Swinging for the fences. He's trying to retain his title. Rachel, 2000s, sure, it can be a plethora of genres, and she may not be comfortable. But I was surprised when she went 2, to be honest, because I thought she had this confidence in her. And for her to only bet 2 and not 3, you're tied with the champ right now. So even if you did go down a point, it's not a huge deal, but I still view it as maybe something's going on with her confidence. And 2000 is like I said, it's very broad. It could be a plethora of genres or categories. So I can sort of see the trepidation on someone's part of betting 2 and not going for 3 in a title match. I always think you got to bet 3 if you're going to try and dethrone the champ. I think you got to, unless, of course, you actually have a big lead and you don't need to take that kind of risk. But you're tied here. You're going into the speed round. We've seen Sam in the past be very dominant, so you would think that with someone's confidence like Rachel, she would bet 3, and she only bet 2. So, and in the end, it did hamper her chances at seeing what Sam would do in the final round, because she ultimately did lose by 1, and had she bet 3, then we would have been tied at 22, and even if Rachel missed her 5-pointer, and Sam would have had to do something to earn it just a little bit more. But the third round can be very interesting, or it can be very boring. So I think it can go both ways. But in a title match with someone's high confidence, I expect 3 points being bet.
Yeah, and we will definitely get to the betting round in this team match, which I'm sure is going to be the reason most people are tuning into this podcast this week. But to your point, Rachel Cushing's confidence was at all-time high. Even we didn't really talk about him because we wanted to get right into the action. But even in the pre-match promos, there was a lot of confidence oozing off of Rachel Cushing, and then even coming out being backed by her entire the Fife Club, Emma Fife, Clark Wolf, Android, and you could tell she had a lot of swagger about her this time around, and I honestly I don't know, I don't want to say that she overlooked Sam, because she definitely didn't, but you could tell there was a lot of I don't know. I don't want to say that she kind of walked in like this was her coronation, but I think that's how a lot of people watching it were expecting. We're expecting, okay. I mean, even Sam, after she won that number 1 contender triple threat, was like putting the belt around her waist, because he was just pretty much said, well, this is a foregone conclusion. And I don't know. I wonder if any of that hurt her, right? I just wonder, when all the expectations were on you, and even the champion was like, yeah, you're pretty much going to take this title in a couple of weeks. I wonder if she went in there with maybe, even though she had more confidence, I don't know. Do you think that maybe she didn't come in there with the fire in her belly? Because I don't know how else you explain her only betting 2 points and not 3.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd like to hear from her side why she decided 2 as opposed to 3. But you're right, in her entrances, oozing with confidence, and I just feel like she's more at home in the Schmoedown now as compared to last season. She's more at home. Has this confidence that she can take on anyone, and she can, and everyone knows that, and she knows it. But I also think she's still very grounded in her place in the Schmoedown. That she understands that nothing's going to be easy, especially against someone like Sam, who I know she greatly respects in this game. So there's no way she was overlooking Sam. But yeah, when she came out with the Fife Club, I mean, damn, dude, that was kind of intimidating. I was like, holy crap! This is something Rachel is continually to surprise me in these first couple matches this season with her confidence and her swagger. And look, it's not like she had a bad game here. She still answered 81% of her questions.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's saying she had a bad game here. I think she came through and she rocked. She rocked like she does. Let's go ahead and get into that then. That round 4. Because this was the turning point, I think, for the match. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think everyone can see this. This was the turning point for the match, the speed round. And, there's definitely, this is, and you know what, I want to read real quick. I want to read what Sir Christian Harloff said via Facebook and on his Instagram account at Christian Harloff with the caption FYI. He put up a screen grab of something that he said, and I want to read it to everyone out there. So, to clear something up, the Schmoedown isn't a trivia knowledge contest. It's a game. So, in order to be the champion, you have to master the game. Betting speed round is a part of the game. So, although I can hear some of the people when they say the speed round isn't about how much you know, exactly. This is a game, folks. Lots of elements to it. And I think that was a beautiful way of summing up this round number 4. Rachel, there's without a shadow of a doubt, she knew every answer to every question asked in round number 4, but she just wasn't quick on the draw. Now, I'm going to tell you something about Texas here, Frank Janisch. There's one thing you got to be in Texas. This is a different state. This isn't like, Illinois, California, down in Texas, there are a lot of people who take a lot of things seriously, and you got to be quick on the draw. That's a phrase I've heard my entire life growing up here. You got to be quick. You got to be quick on the draw, kid. You got to be quick on the draw, kid. I've heard that my entire life. And Rachel, unfortunately, because I was rooting for her in this match, she just wasn't quick on the draw, Frank.
Yeah, this is the one thing I was solely worried about in terms of Rachel's game, because I go back to when she faced Jeremy Johns in the speed round in the Inner Geekdom, and that's the reason why she lost. That's the reason why she lost that match. Same thing happened here. And I think Sam is amazing. We all know Sam's amazing in the speedrun. He's proven it through a couple of matches now in these title fights. So I didn't know how Rachel was going to respond. She didn't even get one buzz in. Sam's the only player in singles format history to get all 5 correct. The man's a machine. I mean, people were touting Jeremy Johns as a machine in the speed round. Jeremy Johns got 4 out of the 5. Sam Levine got all 5 here. He's the only one to ever do it. But look at what you said about what Christian's statement. I have been saying that on this show for months, that there's 2 parts to this game. There's knowledge, and then there's how you play the game. When to bet, when to take a chance, when to go to multiple choice. How quick are you on the buzzers? Are you going to take a chance halfway through the question? Because you heard enough and you think you know the answer, so you take a shot. That's part of your strategy. Do you have confidence right there in a split second to make a decision, to go for it right there? I mean, there's different elements to this game that are not solely based on trivia. And if you're one of these people out there that wish it was purely trivia, then I'm sorry, you are going to be disappointed every time there is a title match, because this is part of the game. I like that it's part of the game. It's one of the most entertaining things about title matches. Go back to the Iron Man match when that final 2 minutes was a buzzer beating round. It was going back and forth. Tell me you did not like that drama. You know, just because a player we all love didn't perform the way we would have liked and the way she would have liked as well. You know, don't go complaining about we need to change this or that about the speed round. That's crazy talk to me. It really is. And I think really that's the reason why a majority of people are talking about changing the speed round is because someone they love didn't perform well, so let's adjust the rules or let's make it more trivia based. That's crap to me, and it's silly. And Christian's right. It's a game first and foremost. If you don't like that, then I don't know what else there's out there for you, because look at Jeopardy. Every single time they're answering a question, they're buzzing in, and I guarantee you, majority of that game, everyone at those podiums knows the answer, but it's who buzzed in first. I don't see Reddit subreddits blowing up Jeopardy because they're like, oh, it should be more trivia based. No, it's part of the game when to buzz in. And so this whole thing that I saw on Twitter, on Facebook, just blew my mind. It's so stupid and silly.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is a game, folks, and sometimes it's not just it. Here's the thing: if the NBA was predicated on who is the greatest player on the court, then LeBron James would have about 50,000 rings around his fingers right now. It's not. It's not. It's there's so many factors that go into winning an NBA championship. Same way there's so many factors that go into winning the Schmoedown singles title. And Rachel might have known each of those answers. Didn't matter. Didn't matter nothing. Didn't matter at all. I'm trying not to use profanity here. Didn't matter at all. My favorite thing is when my grandfather, when he would try to not use profanity, he would use old man curse words, and he'd say like "dag nabbit." Did you ever have any old folks that said "dag nabbit" around you? That was my favorite one. Or bull corn. He would say bull corn all the time.
Malarkey.
Consarnate. What the hell is consarnate? Can we not say "gosh darn it"? Is that not Anyway, yeah. I'm off the topic here. But Rachel could have known every one of the answers, and she did. But it just happened to be the buzzer. It happened to be the buzzer. It's one of those rules in the game that you can use to your advantage. I always go back to the beautiful use of the timeout Sam Witwer did in the Star Wars Iron Man match at the Spectacular. He utilized the rule and he swayed the game into his favor. He played the rules of the game. And the rule of the game isn't, we're going to wait for both people to hit the button and then we'll both ask them. No, it's called the speed round. Emphasis on speed. You have to be the fastest. And it gives you less time to think about the answer, so you better hope what comes out of your mouth is the correct answer, which once again in this team match we'll see come into effect. So I understand the people who are upset, who are on Rachel Cushing's side and said, no, but she knew the answers. I get it, man, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but it's a game. It's not it's not a test. It's a game, not a test, right? A test is predicated on how much of this information do you know. A game is where preparation meets luck. And unfortunately, luck was on the side of Sam Levine this time for you Rachel Cushing fans and not on Rachel Cushing's side. So speed round was her detriment. Let's go into round number 5 unless you have anything else on
real
this.
Quick, yeah. Brad, just to put a cap on it. If you just want the pure trivia, go ahead and enjoy the free-for-all in like a month. I hope you enjoy it because that's about as close as you're going to get to pure trivia in the Schmoedown. So that's all I want to say.
Yeah. So moving along, let's get to round number 5. Rachel Cushing picks the numbers 2, 7, and 19. The number 2 pointer was the category of directors. She got that. We got into crime. Lo and behold, she got that. Now here she is. It's 21 to 22. The 5-pointer comes up. Do you remember the question? It was Angelina Jolie. I'm trying to remember.
Crispin Glover.
Yes, and Crispin Glover. And I had no earthly idea what the answer to this question was.
A hell of a way to word this question to try and get this answer. I mean, that was just that's one of the more brutal 5-point questions I think we've ever seen in the Schmoedown.
Angelina Jolie plays Crispin Glover's mother.
Yeah.
In what movie? Yeah, that was a tough one. Not
only is the wording of that question tough, but the movie is also very forgettable. I forgot that movie even existed. Yeah. So you got you got these two factors working against you. Granted, it's a title match. It's a 5-pointer, so I don't have a problem with the question. But one thing is Angelina Jolie popping up as a category. I meant to pull this number because I cannot. Angelina Jolie is one of the most pulled categories in the final round of any category, and I don't know why. It's so bizarre, but I got to find that number.
That is very strange. And when I read this question, obviously I'm a Back to the Future fan, so I try to keep some tabs on Crispin Glover a little bit. He's a little nutso. So I don't try to do everything, look at everything that he does, and I'm definitely not a fan of everything he puts out. He's put out a lot of weird indie art films over the last 5-10 years that are real strange and has to do with some stuff that's just kind of controversial. But when this question was asked, I'm like, okay, obviously Angelina Jolie didn't play his mother in Back to the Future. What else? And the only other movie I could think of Crispin Glover even being in was Charlie's Angels, and I knew that wasn't the right answer. But that's the only other thing I could think of. I'm like, Charlie, and that's what Rachel ended up saying. She ended up saying, Charlie's Angels. And I knew that it wasn't right. But it was the only thing I could think of. And so I felt for her in that moment. And she falls short of defeating Sam Levine, who she ironically towers over 22-21. Rachel Cushing came very close, but no cigar, Frank Janisch.
Yeah. Getting into their post-match interviews, though, real quick, Sam said something, and I think it's true. It's only whoever has this belt, whether it's him or somebody else, it's only a matter of time before Rachel gets it. And I said this probably a while ago. I was fearing that Rachel's numbers are so good that she reminds me of Peyton Manning. He was so good, but when it came to the clutch games, the big moments, for some reason he would just come up short. Eventually, he did get that title, ironically, against my Chicago Bears in Super Bowl 41, which hurt. But anyways, so I kind of liken her as the Peyton Manning right now of the Schmoedown. If you're familiar with football, folks, you know that Peyton Manning struggled, put up great numbers in the regular season, got far sometimes in the playoffs, but just couldn't pull out that one win he needed to solidify him as a champion. Eventually he did get there, and I think that's going to happen with Rachel. Hopefully it won't take as long, though.
I mean, yeah, and to use another sports analogy, I mean, we hope that it's more Peyton Manning of crushing it, always, no pun intended, and eventually getting that title than it is like a Charles Barkley, who was
or Dan Marino,
or Dan Marino, or any of those guys, who are so phenomenal, Hall of Fame players, but never got the big one. But as was pointed out, Emma Fyffe still can, if she wants to, she can rematch this match immediately. She has that number one contendership for anybody she manages, and it will be interesting to see who she chooses to use that number one contendership on, because let's not forget, not only is Rachel Cushing in her faction, she's got Clark Wolf, she's got Ann Draco, she's got herself, and she's got Sam Witwer, who was not shown, but she does have Sam Witwer. And we've been wanting to see a Sam Witwer, regular season match and not just Star Wars League. So this might not be it for Rachel Cushing this season against Sam Levine for the championship. And who knows what the hell is going to happen at Free For All? She's got plenty of chances to get that championship or to get at least another shot at it.
It's interesting because Rachel is a triple threat. So Emma could throw her in a singles, a teams, or an Inner Geekdom title match, or was it a number one contenders match? So
title match. No, it's a title match.
Title match. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, title match. So Rachel could end up in any one of those at any given point, and I think it would be foolish to think that won't happen. We just don't know which division it's going to happen in. So I look forward to the day Emma uses that, because given the timing, it could be very, very entertaining, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, I can't either. It's going to be an interesting season. And speaking of can't wait, let me get to the match that I could not wait for. We were there, Frank boy. We were there, Frankie. We were there. We saw top 10 bring down top that. We saw a very, ruggedly handsome gentleman do those post-match interviews, and it seemed like top 10 was just locked in. Even JT came and talked a little trash, but they did not care. They were going to take down the Patriots. Let's get to it. The most, and in my opinion, for me, my most anticipated match so far this year, top 10 versus the Patriots for those Schmoedown team championships. Let's get to the pre-match promos here. Top 10 was locked in. They were talking their smack. They were stomping a verbal mud hole in the Patriots and walking it dry. You had Matt Nost with the drumstick in his mouth. I don't know if he was trying to be Razor Ramon or what he was really trying to do. I liked it, though. And these two guys, they were talking their trash, and they were ready to take down the Patriots. And then the Patriots bring in the smack talk that they are always known for with Tom Dagnino. Always consistently cutting great promos on a very, very high level. JTE really born for this, and Jeff Snyder seemed to be back into, vintage Jeff Snyder, if you will. He definitely seemed like he had a grasp on his character and on his confidence going into this match. So we saw the unstoppable force, which was the Patriots, meeting the immovable object, or vice versa, the immovable object being the Patriots and the unstoppable force being top 10, and they were going to collide here for the team championships. Frank, you had to be super excited for this.
I was really excited for this one. I know it's the third matchup, and people sometimes get sick of seeing, two players or two teams go at it repeatedly, but I was really, really looking forward to this one. And, the Patriots, they keep talking about, we got to face these guys again, this and that. I think a part of that is they know, and it's been said before, that they know that eventually they're going to lose. What they don't want to happen is, of all teams to lose to, is to lose the top 10. Because nearly a third of their wins is from top 10. And it's so, like, more often, eventually it's going to catch up to you. And I think they're somewhat worried going into this before the promos, worried that, man, it really might be time. They might get our number this time just because of the odds. Eventually, it's going to happen. They are a good team, and they can do it. But then, you didn't see any of that in the promo, and I wouldn't expect to have seen any of that in the promo anyways, because they're the Patriots for a reason. So, yeah, in top 10, bringing the smack as well as they ever have. So, with that in mind, and the drumstick that was supposed to be the Jeff Snyder toothpick for Nost, I thought was a great bit. No pun intended, I guess you could say. So, yeah, I was ready to get this thing kicked off and rolling, because these two teams do not like each other for a variety of reasons. Going back to all the the previous two results. I mean, the way, especially the last time they met, ended not pretty. So yeah.
Yeah, so let's get into it. The entrances. The interesting one was the security guard entrance. I didn't really follow that so much. That one kind of was lost on me.
Yeah, I don't think you want to get tackled again. That's probably what.
Is that what it was?
That's what I was thinking.
Well, we didn't see that really in their first match this season, but that's neither here nor there. Round number 1 went like this. We saw the Patriots going up against Team Top 10. In the first round, ended 11-9. Patriots on top. Jeff Snyder locked in, answering 7 questions correct. JT with 4, and then Matt Nost and John Roca almost even. 5 for Roca, 4 for Nost. Frank Janisch, your analysis of round numero uno.
Yeah, Jeff Snyder really smoked this first round, 7 points. He's been consistently good in this first round for quite a while for majority of their matches. JTE, he's up and down. He's been better than the 4 points as of late, but he kind of reverted back to his old ways here. And Roca, I think, we expect him to, he's like their 8th player, right? And I know Roca is all about team equality between him and Nose, but everyone knows, and we can just say that Roca is the better player. He's proven it over his career. I expected him to be a little bit better, but
there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with being Jordan and having Scotty there with you.
Sure, exactly. And to be only down 2 is pretty fortunate because Patriots have shown they can go off in the first round. They've done it rarely, but they have the ability to do that. But Top 10 has the ability to do it. We saw that last match, so it didn't happen here. So that really told me that this is going to be a tight one. Early on, definitely.
Yeah, the question that Jeff Snyder pulled where I knew he was just in the zone was the now I can't even think about the name of the movie. Was it Money Monster? Was that the name of the movie?
Yeah, well, he's the only one who got that one.
Yeah. Julia Roberts and George Clooney. Definitely not my favorite movie of theirs as a pairing. Ocean's 11, definitely the more superior film. Ocean's 12, not so much, but I still liked it. Don't buy the romance whatsoever. I'm off topic. Let's talk about the round number 2, because round number 2 and round number 3 are very interesting rounds. Let's talk about the Patriots elect to spin first, and JTE goes up there and they spin movie quotes. And they definitely look at each other like, this is not what we want. Because we've seen movie quotes go very, very wrong for a lot of people. Because you think, oh, movie quotes, it's easy. But, not everything's going to be Luke, I am your father. And as they'll allude to in the post-match interviews, not everything's going to be we need a bigger boat. Or hold on to your butts. Or,
right.
You made a time machine? Or no. When I messed it up. When this gets 88 miles an hour, you're going to see some serious shit. Not everything is like that. Not everything's so, iconic. Or I'll be back. Hasta la vista, baby. Get out of the bomb in the building. I'm not as good as Christian Harloff at that. Not everything's like that. So we've seen movie quotes go wrong for a lot of people. And then JT says, we're not going to do this. They spin again. They get movie quotes anyway. And boy, Frank Janisch, did that not end up being a godsend for the Patriots, because there was a lot of quotes in this category that a lot of people would say, yeah, that's pretty easy.
Yeah, I think Top 10 commented on this in their post match about two of the 6 were like legit, like the Copland question and Shutter Island. I think are pretty legit, questions, 2-point questions. But these other ones, my God, Psycho, Billy Madison. Wow,
it's cool to be your pants. Yeah, that was whoa, yeah, saw that from a mile away.
Yeah, might as well just throw in the Miles Davis part and just give him the whole. But yeah, so here's the thing. I was like Jeff when he was used an expletive when they had to take movie quotes. I was like, yeah, this is gonna be rough, and they weren't. They really weren't.
But I want to say this. I think that's half of the reason they were easy, to some degree, was the fact that they are not that category. When it's spun, most people, I would think, spin again. Mm-hmm. Because they're like, we don't want that. And we've talked about this so many times of comic book movies. It's picked so many times that the questions just become more and more difficult. Or when we see Spielberg, all the surface layer of Spielberg questions have been asked and answered, so we got to go deeper. When it comes to something like new releases or movie quotes, people don't stop on those as much, and I guess I'm changing my tune a little bit on that, and I guess it can really work in your favor, especially movie quotes, which I would think most people spin away from immediately.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this, when the category is seldom used or picked, we assume we're going to get these surface level questions. And I'm thinking, why does that have to be the case? Why is that? And it does appear to be the case when you see these categories that have been landed on once or twice or never at all. It appears to be a very surface level question. I'm wondering to myself, why are we getting surface level questions from the bank of questions they have? I'm going to see Chris Gliskin in like a day or two. I'm really going to pick his brain about this because I'd love to know if that's how they go through a category. Let's start with the surface level and work our way down. I would like to think and a more fair approach, I guess you could say, is you get all your questions and you jumble them up, and whatever comes out the first 6 is the ones you use. It just doesn't go through. Like, it seems like as the category goes on and on and on, yeah, obviously a natural progression would be to get a little deeper into these questions. But if it's a new category, couldn't you just get some deep cuts right off the bat and some surface levels? So I don't know what the mixture is between there. And again, those kind of questions can be somewhat subjective. So very interesting that they were all very surface level, if you will. Just very. And yeah, look, they tried to go away from it, and it was the best thing that happened to them. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, this was great for them, and I would like, maybe, you know what we should do? We should have Chris Skaliski back on the show. I would like to have a conversation, even if it's a bonus episode of the show. I would like to talk to him in length about that, because it is interesting. I don't know the formula. Maybe he can't speak on it. Maybe he wouldn't be able to come on the show and talk about that. Maybe that is an off the air discussion, because it is fascinating to me, the way the questions are selected, how they're selected, and maybe that'd be giving up too much inside baseball there. But let's get into the top 10 side of things for this, because they get Quentin Tarantino. Oh, no, they get Pixar first. They spin Pixar first.
Yeah.
And there was some debate here, because we saw in their match against Top That how good they were when it came to Pixar. There was a couple Pixar. There was either a Pixar category or something like that, or a question that was Pixar based that was a difference maker in that match.
It was the 5-pointer.
The 5-pointer, yeah.
Yeah. That Nost really came through on that one. Yeah.
So we know that Matt Nost is the guy when it comes to that. So I was a little surprised they didn't go with Pixar, because I think, there's, once again, small sample size. Obviously, questions are going to be a little bit tougher, but still answerable. So they spin away from it, and they get Quentin Tarantino. And when I saw Quentin Tarantino, I'm like, they are Fucked, because that's not an easy category as much as it's been selected. And I knew the questions were going to be rough. I knew they were going to be rough. I didn't think that they would be as rough as I perceived them to have been. Those were some hard questions. Especially the Jackie Brown question with Chris Tucker. I didn't even remember Chris Tucker being in the movie until they said that. That's how long ago I watched Jackie Brown. And so many of these. The quote from Pulp Fiction about he was upset about his car being keyed. These are things that I didn't really remember until they were brought up. And so props to John Rocha and Matt Nost for getting 10 points in that round. I mean, already the Patriots had 23 points to, and when Top 10 got up, they had 9. And to be able to come back and make it 19-23, 4-point gap, that is an incredible comeback for Top 10.
Yeah, I thought they really did weather that. They weathered that storm very nicely. The first 3 questions, they had to go multiple choice. I'm back to back the second question, the third question. That Kill Bill question, the White Lotus, I thought that was a very difficult question. I literally just watched that movie probably like 4 days ago, and I couldn't tell you. I was like, I have no idea. And they pulled out White Lotus, multiple choice. Amazing. Lee Majors, the other multiple choice answer. But you're right. Some of these questions, I mean, it's, everyone has seen Tarantino movies, especially Rocha and Nost, right? And here's the thing. You're right. It's kind of interesting they went away from Pixar, because I don't necessarily view that as a great strength of JTE or Snyder's. But Tarantino definitely is a strength for Snyder. And I would think a better strength for JTE than Pixar would be. So that could have bit them out. That's what I was worried about, is that if Top 10 missed a question, I felt pretty confident that the Patriots would have scooped up the 1 or 2 points. And I think they probably felt pretty confident that they could have had they got the chance. But Top 10 did what they needed to do, didn't give up any opportunities to them. And you're right, to close the gap, especially when the Patriots just got such, the luck of the draw, if you will, with those questions. pretty nice questions for a title match, definitely. And then for top 10 to go through Tarantino like that, it was good stuff, and that's what you expect from the best teams in the league.
Absolutely. And speaking of Quentin Tarantino, this is a little off subject, which I'm for some reason doing a lot of on this podcast.
Yeah.
If you want to see something phenomenal, and you're a wrestling fan and a Quentin Tarantino fan and a movie fan, go to YouTube, type in Booker T, Eddie Guerrero, Pulp Fiction, and you will see one of the greatest parody videos of all time. I'm telling you, Booker, after this, I'm surprised he didn't get cast in some movie because he was so good in this. So everyone go out there, Booker T, Eddie Guerrero, Pulp Fiction. You won't be disappointed if you've never seen that before.
We'll have to tweet that out from the Schmoedown RD account. We'll have to tweet that out.
We will. Booker actually tweeted it the other day, and that's what's making me think of it. Yeah, that's what's making me think of it. It was so phenomenal. They did it as a WrestleMania promo, so y'all got to go check that out. But let's continue, because here's where I think we're going to spend quite a bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
Round number 3, the betting round. Mr. Jeff the N. Schneider, your best friend, Frank Janisch, he went up there, BFF, F-A-F-F-E, best friend forever and ever.
You got it.
He went up there and spun the wheel, and it landed on Westerns. Now, this was originally, I think, what John Roca was looking to do when they respun after Pixar. He wanted Westerns. Didn't get Westerns, but they did pretty good in Quentin Tarantino. But when this lands on Westerns, I already knew what was happening. I saw it in my head. I said, okay, John Roca's betting 3, and the Patriots are going to bet 1.
Yep.
Top 10's betting 3, Patriots betting 1, and the Patriots will probably get it wrong here. And it's going to be a tie game. That's exactly what I said was in my head. That's what I knew was going to happen. So before we get to what unfolded, I want to ask you, when we talked about in the Sam Levine, Rachel Cushing match, and maybe it's against the rules. I don't know. Are you able to bet 0 points in this round? Frank Janisch.
I think you can. I have to go ahead and look at the graphic. I don't know if it states you can bet 1 to 2 or 3 points. I don't actually know off the top of my head. Holy crap.
Because if the rules state there's a max of 3 points, you can bet. I don't know, man. I just wonder. I don't know. I have a feeling that you can't do that. I have a feeling it's between 1 to 3, but it did come into my mind. I'm like, I'm wondering if they could just bet 0. That way, they have nothing really to lose because they'll still be up, even if top 10 gets the 3 points. It's probably against the rules. The more I'm putting it out there, I'm sure it's against the rules.
I'm looking it up as we speak. So
continue to look it up. But I did have that thought of if there's a category that you're not sure about and you're up by 4. The most that top 10 can get is 3.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, so each team wager between 0 and 3 points. So you don't have to bet.
So you don't have to bet. So why wouldn't they do that? I mean, if they're up 4, they have nothing to lose. And that just might be that no one's ever done it before. I don't think anyone's ever bet 0 points. So it's probably just not in their mind to do that. So because they could have just really avoided even the game being close to being tied and been up a point regardless, especially in a category like Westerns.
That is a fair point. You're right.
You know, I know a thing or two, Frank Janisch. I'm just okay. While I'm laying this out, if you can for me, can you pull up the question that was asked about Westerns, if that's okay, Frank? Because I want to make sure we get this right. So, Westerns is spun, and the question is asked. And we knew that John Roca, this is his thing. Just like we saw in the top that match, when he got biopics, I knew what the end of the match was going to look like already. And when I saw Westerns, I was like, oh, man, they're going to do it. They're going to pull this one out. And what was the question, Frank Janisch?
It was, who played the school teacher turned outlaw in 1965's Cat Ballou?
Now, at this point, I do believe both teams had used 2 of their JTE rules. 2 of the repeats were used by both teams already at this moment. Am I right?
That is correct.
That is correct. So they heard the question, and there was no repeats asked for by either side. And you could tell immediately I was looking at Roca. And Roca it looked like he wrote something down. I don't know if you saw it. It looked like he wrote something down immediately after the question was answered. And then maybe he erased it. And then there was some conference between the two. At no point. Go ahead.
No, I'm looking at the game tape right now, and he writes right away. Nos is looking at him, and Roca shows him, and Nos is like, sure, you know better than I would probably. And there is a bit of a conference, and then I don't know if Nos said something to Roca that made Roca, change up his answer, or he wanted, to write it differently. I don't know. But you want to go from there? Yeah.
So we got the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pins down. No more ink, as Dave Navarro says in Ink Master. And we go to the Patriots first. And the Patriots say they bet 1 point, and they said John Wayne, which was a hilarious answer. It was the only thing that they could think about. And I would love to find the Western where John Wayne plays a school teacher. It probably would be the best Western of all time. The Duke being, teaching somebody addition and subtraction in the Old West. So they get that point wrong. Roca then holds up the board and says, and I want to get this right. Does he say, you have the match pulled up, right, Frank?
Yeah.
Can you why don't you just hit play and put it up to your microphone?
Sure. I got it just right here. Hold on a second.
Because I want to know exactly how this played out. Let's hear this here for a second.
I don't know, but I can say it, right? No. John Wayne didn't have
Not
it.
correct.
All right, so that is a loss of a point. 22. Top 10 picked how many points? 3. 3 to tie the game. You picked?
He has nothing written down there.
I know, but I can say it, right? No.
What?
It's a write down thing.
You didn't write down anything.
You've got to write down the answer. Oh, well, I wrote Jane Fonda down.
What? Is that what? Fonda to you?
All right, you can stop it there, Frank.
I wrote Jane Fonda.
You can stop it there. So at first, and I'm just trying to be impartial here. At first, JTE points out, or Snyder points out, whichever one it was. JTE. He didn't write anything down. And Roca's first response was, well, I know the answer. Or whatever he just said. I don't have to write it down. And then, Christian was like, no, you have to write the answer down. And then Roca seemed a little shocked by it, by that ruling, and then said, well, yeah, I wrote Jane Fonda down here in the corner. Now, I was watching on a cell phone while I was driving down 45 South here in Houston. So I didn't get the most clear look on what was written down, but I definitely saw something written in the corner. This is something that we actually somewhat discussed with William Bibbiani last week on the show, where we were talking, I believe, about Sleeping Beauty, the Sleeping Beauty question. And I said, would this count? And I actually held up the whiteboard I had here where it said like S scribble, B scribble. And he was like, yeah, I would accept that if I were a judge. If you said it and you showed it, I think that would count. So so I see scribbles and I see Jane Fonda. And after some committee by Christian and Emma, they award the points to top 10, and therefore the game was tied at 22-22, and Snyder immediately calls for the challenge. Yeah. Why don't you take it away from there, Frank?
So, looking back at the rule card for round 3, it does say teams have 15 seconds to write their answer. Answers must be said aloud when revealing response. So this whole notion that Roca didn't know or thought that just because he said it, would count for the answer. Doesn't work well with me. But we'll get into other things. But yeah, you're right. Jeff immediately challenges, and I think, look, I'm a top 10 fan, but this is a legit challenge. And Rocha, as big of a fan I am of Rocha and top 10, it's always been done that you write your answer on the board, and that's how it's been done. Last week, I even brought up the idea of, because it goes back to the Sleeping Beauty thing, I think, where I talked about maybe the person who doesn't have to rely, or the person who goes first, maybe doesn't have to write it because they get to say it, and then the other person, has to reveal their answer, proving they knew it by writing it on the board, and they get that kind of advantage. So if you listen to the last episode, I kind of go into that, and that's kind of what happens here. I feel like, and I do think it's something that, that they could look at, that they should at least entertain, they should at least discuss it. They may or may not. That's not up to me, and that's fine. But that's just how I feel about it. But Jeff, I think it was a legit challenge because that's how it's been done in the past. But that's not really where the problem lies in this scenario.
Where does the problem lie, Sir Janisch, in your opinion?
The respin decision. The decision to respin for a new category.
Let me stop you there. So they do the challenge, they come back, and they say that they're going to not only instead of like we've seen before, and I remember the Jay Washington I think Inner Geekdom match at the Spectacular. There was a question about James Bond, and he answered it one way, and then there was a challenge, so they threw the question out, and they asked him a new question in the same category of spy films or whatever it was.
Right.
In this instance, the question was not only done away with, but the Patriots were allowed to respin for a different category.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting way of approaching it. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, but it has not happened before.
It's unprecedented, at least to my knowledge, that when there's a controversial question for whatever reason, they don't just go to a new category. They give you a new question in that category. So for Top 10 has a legitimate gripe that Patriots got to spin for a new category, and you have to believe Jeff Snyder, who it's clearly been pointed out that he's the one that lobbied for the respin. And look, I have no problem with Jeff lobbying for that decision because you're trying to win the game. I can respect, I always say, make the judges make a tough call. And sometimes it can go your way. And Jeff Snyder really put the pressure on them. There's a lot of heat going on, man. And this committee, this decision making is a hot mess, man. And it is crazy. Nothing we've ever seen, because these two teams legitimately, I feel, do not really care for each other in this game. They want to beat one another very, very badly. So this is hotly contested. And Jeff, I think, man, it's a no-brainer he would ask for a respin because he knows that they're not good in Westerns. If they want to really put a nail in the coffin of Top 10, we need a new category. We can't get another Western category because what's going to happen? They're going to bet 1 again or 0, and Top 10's going to bet 3, and we're going to just be right back where we are this time. So, of course, Jeff would want a new category that at least gives them a chance to get out of Western and something else that they might be good in. So, yeah, as much as I don't have a problem with Jeff lobbying for the respin, I have the problem with them being granted the respin. That's the biggest issue here. In previous questions and in previous questions and scenarios, they just given a new question in that category. So,
well, let's look at this here from a different perspective. Typically, or not typically, always in this round, in the spin round, or in the betting round, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
There's a category selected, and there's one question based on that category. Just one. They don't ask 2. They just ask one question based on that category. So if that one question was already asked and answered and was challenged, I could see the logic, not only the lobbying from Jeff Snyder, I could see the logic of saying, okay, we've already asked the question that is designated for this category in this round. Perhaps there wasn't a backup question. I don't know. But I could see the logic of saying, let's just start the whole round over. You know, there's so much argument about it. And first of all, let me actually start by saying this. I think that top 10 should have been awarded the points. That's what I think. If it's scribble, if it's illegible, there's nothing in the rules, as far as I know, that says it has to be legible. You just have to write the answer and say the answer when you present it. So
yeah, we know that Thad in the post-match, he comes up and he talks about that, but
legibility, there needs to be something where it's like, well, we can at least make out what it says. But there was something written on the board, and the correct answer was said, and the other team didn't say it. So my personal philosophy is, if anything were to happen in this round, I think the points should have been awarded to top 10. But I can agree also with the ruling of, let's start the whole round over. You know, you think you got it, you knew the answer, but you didn't write it down. They say they challenged it. We award them their challenge. And then there's so much debate on if there should be a question, if this should happen, if that should happen. And I'm sure there was way more debate about it than we even got to see on the show. I see the logic of saying, you know what? Boom, we're just going to do it again. Just start page 1, rewrite. I see the logic. Whether I agree with it or not is irrelevant, but I see the logic.
Yeah, but that's actually illogical to me. There's no reason to respin. Why? Why? Because you want to erase it? Everything that happened? You don't have to actually do that. There's no reason to do that. You just give them a new question. And it could have even been a question that Patriots would have known. So, but again, I think they were afraid that they would have not known a Western question. And this idea that they would not be able to get another Western question that's just not true. They can go into their document and pull up another Western question. They could have called Chris Skaliski and said, hey, we need another betting round question in the category of Westerns. What do you got? You know, this is a title match. You want to get this thing right. And unfortunately, I don't think they did the right thing here in awarding the respin. And it completely turned this match upside down on its head. And we will really never know.
So you would have. So let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Would you have awarded top 10 the points?
I would have. In that first go-around, I would have, absolutely.
Okay. Now, had the challenge been thrown out there and say the judges said, yeah, we're erring in favor of the Patriots on this one, and we're going to say that the challenge is valid, what would your course of action? You would have said, all right, that's fine. Another question in the same category.
So, even though I would have given the points, so there has been leeway in terms of how things are awarded and whatnot. So yes, even though I would have given the points to top 10, but if the Patriots come and challenge, but the rules say you got to write down, I would say, you're right. That's what the rules say. So I can't award the top 10 the 3 points. I know that's kind of like hypocritical of me saying that. Like, that's doublespeak. I understand that, but Patriots challenge it, they make their case, I say, okay, you presented the facts. Yes, we should know the rules. And Christian really did say at first, you need to write something down, but top 10 lobbied that. And I agree, because this is why I think this rule needs to be looked at, just to clarify, if anything, to be set in stone that this is the way it is. But going past that, I would have said, all right, sorry, top 10, you do not get the points, but we're just going to give you a new question. But I'm not going to give you a respin. There's no point to respin.
So, okay, let me ask you this. Give you a new question. What do you think the logic behind? So I laid out why I think they did the respin. What was your make the case for why they would have said, let's do a respin? In your opinion, why do you think that decision was made?
I really wish I knew. I don't. Why would? Just because they thought they were doing the fair thing. I think they thought they were doing the fair thing, but it's really not, because that's what the Patriots initially spun was Westerns. There's no logical reason in my mind to completely reset the round like that when you have other instances in the past where you've run into similar situations and you've just given a new question in that category. So it didn't follow anything that preceded it. This became an entirely brand new, precedent-setting moment.
Well, one person I did not feel bad for in this entire, or let me rephrase that. The person I felt the most bad for in this entire situation was Sir Christian Harloff.
Oh, man.
Because you could tell he already knew what was coming, and he even said as much. One time our radio producer, at Mr. Joshua, by the way, on Twitter, he one time tweeted out, "I do not find Rihanna attractive whatsoever. If anything, she's ugly." He tweeted that, and somebody sent the perfect tweet, and they just said, "Your poor mentions." And that's what I unfortunately feel is going to be, in anybody who is a decision maker, be Thad, be Christian, be Emma Fife, be Top 10, or any of these people involved in this, your poor mentions. Because, ooh, man, are they going to be heated for the next week. And there was a stipulation added by Thad. Well, I guess let's just say when it came to the speed round, you could honestly tell round number 4 that Top 10 was just, they were taken out of the game.
Because instead of being tied at 22 apiece, they are down by 10 points.
Because, let's say the category was respun. Will Smith came up, and it was from it was essentially finished the quote of was it death, love, and blank.
Time.
It was time. Time was the answer. Jeff Schneider seemed to know that one, and Top 10 was not able to pull that answer. So they were down by a considerable amount of points, almost an insurmountable amount. And we saw that in the speed round, they just weren't there. They had spent all their emotional capital on that betting round, on the argument's sake that I'm sure that we did not see on camera. And they just said, all right, you know what, let's just ride this one out. I mean, we're not going to quit, but we're not going to fight on this one.
And one thing I think that does need to be pointed out is that I appreciate that everyone at Collider Schmoedown try to be as transparent as they can about what transpired there in the studio that day to give a fair view of what happened. So, I mean, because you easily could have just cut out this whole mess, right? And proceeded with the new category in question like it never happened. But they decided to show you everything that happened, and I appreciate that. And I think, and that's going back to a little bit, we're going a little off base here, but that goes back to the Collider Town Hall, being transparent and everything. I appreciate everything they're doing going forward. And so I just like the fact that they gave us that look at what was going on. I mean, you could see Christian. I mean, the guy was absolutely beside himself that this was the situation they found themselves in, because he knows the heat between these two teams is for real. I mean, you can say all you want. It's. I think sometimes real life bleeds over, especially when it's never fun to lose to your friends over and over again. You're going to lash out a little bit.
Yeah. And we know that John Roca's a passionate player. Yeah. Probably the most passionate the league has ever had. So obviously tensions were going to boil over here just a little bit. They ended up being TKO'd in round number 4.
KO'd.
I'm sorry, KO'd. They were KO'd in round number 4. Just sometimes, it was kind of like in the John Jones, Daniel Cormier saga. When they asked Daniel about, are we going to see the trilogy? Are we going to see the third fight? He said, is it really a trilogy if the guy keeps winning? Is it really one of the best series ever if the guy keeps winning? And unfortunately, as great as Daniel Cormier is, he's only lost to one person, and that person is John Jones. And as great as Top 10 is, the Patriots just have their number. And you could say one time was a fluke, 2 times they just had an off game, 3 times there's a lot of controversy here, but I just don't know if we're going to see that 4th one, because let's not forget Commissioner Thad Williams added the stipulation that if Top 10 were to lose this game, this match, they would not get another championship shot as long as the Patriots are still the champions. And
correct.
With top 10 out of the picture now, I see the Patriots holding on to those belts for quite a while unless Shire Wolves show us something so impressive, or Emma Fife says, let's make that the title match, you know?
I mean, because, either, you can see the Shire Wolves in there, but it was also revealed that Above the Line and MODOK are going to have a number one contenders match. And
that's true, yep.
Whoever wins that's going to go up against now the Patriots. But real quick, if we look at that speed round, let's say everything, it's all tied at 22. Top 10 gets those 3 points. Patriots lose 1. And the speed round plays out the way it played out. Now, Patriots are up 24-21. That means top 10's not KO'd. Patriots and top 10 play in that final round. And then you never know what happens with the 2, 3, and 5 pointer for both teams. So, I mean, what a series of events. Holy crap. This was absolutely insanity.
This is probably, and unfortunately, going to go down as the most controversial match in Schmoedown history. I don't see anything else ever topping this. And there definitely is going to be some rules put in place. Let's get to the post-match interviews.
Whew.
I think we can, the Patriots were in traditional Patriot form and fashion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's get to top 10. Wow. A lot of emotion, a lot of passion. Didn't leave really much to the theater of the mind in the ways that they felt. Very, very, very heavy stuff from the top 10.
Yeah, you are not going to convince me that this was what's the wrestling term I'm looking for?
A work, brother.
Yeah, this
was a shoot.
Oh man, it just bleeds off the screen how real this is, man. There's no beating around the bush on this one. They are pissed, and I can't blame them because I agree the respin is the only thing that I find immensely controversial. The whole whiteboard stuff not being written. Okay, unfortunately, I have to agree that that's the rule, and I have to side with that. And like I said before, I'm a huge top 10 Roka fan, Nose fan, so I have to agree with that ruling. But the respin, they have every right to be legitimately pissed off about that. And the Patriots, dude, you cannot tell me that they don't know that they got away with one. They got away with a big one. And JT even said, he's like, I hate the way this ended, but also at the same time I love it because they won. He knows deep down inside they got away with some stuff. And if they're going to try and tell me otherwise, I'm not going to believe it for a second. They know they got away with something in this one, but they don't care because they're the winners. And the decision went their way. And, hey, the decision went their way. They didn't make the decision. So they don't have anything to feel completely bad about. But top 10, dude, that post-match, I'm going to watch that a billion times because...
Yeah.
How often do you see them just literally that heated? No way. I mean,
yeah,
for real, dude.
It was passionate, and I don't even want to repeat anything that they said because I don't know if I can. Jen
Sturger didn't even know if they could say the stuff.
Jen was like, saying. "Yo, man, get me out of here." And sometimes you're in those situations as an interviewer. So, hey, and look, here's the thing. I am not, and I don't think anyone should be upset with the way that John Roca and Matt Nose responded to that situation. It's a tough one. And honestly, the Patriots won, but, no one really won in that situation. There wasn't a right way to go out of that decision, I believe. There wasn't. It just was a messed up. It was unprecedented, like you said earlier. And, I know John Roca called for a rematch, but, we're not going to see one. And I honestly don't think that really I just don't want to see that rematch just because of all the tension that's been boiled over. And I think the Patriots still, even with this win is a tainted win. And I think this might be the only tainted win in the Patriots'
Oh no, it's not.
Well, I mean,
not
most,
this is the most.
let me rephrase. The most tainted victory.
This reeks. This has the most foul stench of their wins that I can.
I smell this one all the way in Houston, Texas, and and that has to get through all the smog in L.A. first. So you know that it's wretched and horrid, but a win is a win. I always talk about here. Shannon Sharp says you can get hot L's or you can get hot dubs.
Skip
today. Skip. The Patriots are the greatest team of all time. Skip. Come on, Skip. LeBron James. Yeah, so definitely the Patriots, they came, they saw, and they won. But, ooh, man, I am not reading any YouTube comments.
Ooh, and let me just reiterate. I don't have a problem with the way the Patriots try to turn things in their favor, which they did. I just have a problem with the ultimate decision. That's not the Patriots' fault that things were decided that way. So I don't want that to get confused by anyone, first and foremost. Yeah,
so, well, Frank, why don't you tell the folks, though, what we have coming up next week in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown? We got a couple matches. We got a live show. What can people expect next week? Because I have a feeling that this is all that's going to be discussed online in the Schmoevillian community here in the next few weeks, maybe for the rest of the year. Oh, man, I'm telling you, this is just all over the place. But why don't we talk about the future? This is in the past. We had championship week. There is no new champions after championship week. Both champions successfully defend their titles. And I think the favorites in the challengers, both came up short. The top 10 match. This is one we're going to reference and talk about forevermore. This is going to be like the Chicago Black Sox. This is going to be like...
that's a little different. But
well, you know what I mean. This is just going to be one of those sports controversies that we're always going to speak about. We're going to speak about, Pete Rose. We're going to talk about Barry Bonds. We're going to talk about...
This is the one you make the 30 for 30 about, just about this match. Where was everyone at during the spin? Where was everyone at when the question, was he raised from Rocco's board? Where was everyone at? What was I doing in Chicago? When this happened, what were you doing? It's one of those kind of documentaries.
You know how sometimes you hear that song that was from a decade ago, and you remember exactly where you were when the last time you heard that song or whatever. I am never going to be able to drive on my commute home. I remember my entire scenery that was around me. I remember exactly where I was when this happened. This is going to stick with the fans for a long time. But what do we have coming up next week?
So March 13th, we got the other Intergeekdom Fatal five-way qualifier. The winner will go on to play Mark Donica, and then that winner will play Justin Inman. But in this March 13th match, we got Dorian Parks, Jared Hyban, Alana Jordan, Taylor Robinson, and Jamie Casa, the master of impressions. He's so great. I love his Han Solo. But that's the one we got coming up March 13th. And then on the 15th, in real life, in living color, right in front of your eyeballs, at the El Capitan Theater, if I'm not mistaken, in Los Angeles, Brad, you have JT and Roca going at it. Oof, that is going to be that match just went. The hype meter just went up like 1,000 points. But the undercard match to that one is the Real Rejects versus, say it with me, Brad, Wild Berries.
Wild Berries, brother. Yeah, so there are a lot of exciting things coming around the pike here for us at the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. Let us not let this match, although it will live in infamy, let us not focus on it forevermore. It happened. It's over. It's done. Let's move on. Frank, speaking of matches, I cannot wait to whip both of you and Paul Wolf's candy asses in the Rundown Schmoedown. I will be crowned champion of the world. And we will see you next week for Frank Janisch, which you can find at... What's your Twitter again? Frankie J4972 or something like that? Something ridiculous?
Dude, it's Frankie J29.
Gazoonheit. Thank you. Bless you, Brad. You're welcome, brother. For me, you can find me at Brad Gilmore on all social media. Our man Chris Clark is out there in La La Land. Sorry we couldn't be on video this week. We are all traveling across this great, beautiful country of ours, but we'll be back to our regularly scheduled program hopefully next week. Maybe not. I don't know. We're trying to solidify some plans, but you can follow us at Schmoedown RD on Twitter and Schmoedown Rundown on Instagram. So here we go. It's time. We'll see you next week.